Hi.
Hey.
So I get and am having the absolute pleasure of hanging out with one of my very best friends in the whole wide world, Melissa Ostro, who happens to be a mixologist. She's not a mixologist. She doesn't want me to call her a mixologist. She thinks that that's stupid. She's a bartender at the Block Distilling Co, which is a distillery here in Denver. And she also is the owner and manager and maker of the curated craft cocktail kits of Nectar Cocktails. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Oh, the pleasure is mine.
The pleasure is all mine.
Quite frankly.
So, here we are. Y'all will be listening to this the days leading up to, like, one of our first big...
Forsaken holiday.
Yeah. Thanks-taking. Which... We've had several conversations about that here on this podcast, but we're having a feast. It's one of the first big meals where some of us will be gathering, and so it only made sense to talk about and invite her to come on to, like, bang on about cocktails with me. Some of us imbibe, and I am one of those people, and historically, I have to admit, like, making... I wouldn't even say bougie. I would say, like, my idea of making a cocktail up until maybe, like, a year or two ago was, like, pouring soda water into a glass with vodka. And then if I got real fancy, there would be a lime in there at some point with a twist, if you would. Okay? So she's looking at me like she wants to punch me, for those of you that...
I mean, at least she has a twist in there, honestly.
I mean,
I don't know if my twist and your twist...
I was going to say, I was like, is it actually a twist?
Like
no, it's like...
You're talking about a lime
wedge. Yeah. Nobody was peeling sweet, zested, thick citrus rinds and actually twisting them into a glass. It was literally like, let me hack at this lime with this semi-sharpened knife. Anyways, it made sense. Like I said, we're, like, coming up on the holiday season. For those of us that imbibe and partake, we're going to talk about holiday cocktails. We're going to talk about our favorite holiday cocktails. I think we can scooch in some Mocktail.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also probably have some tips for those of you who do not partake, but still want to partake.
That is partaking. You know what I'm saying? What it looks like to have, some more, like, accessible options, things that we already have, right? Because that's always been super intimidating to me, is like, am I really going to have to buy this bougie bottle of fucking peach brandy that I'm going to use one time and then I'm never going to use again, or some, like, crazy bottle of vermouth, which some of y'all really go through vermouth, so maybe that's not a thing for you.
And if you're not putting it in the refrigerator, so help me God.
So let's talk about that, right? Okay, so we'll just go ahead and kick off with what looks like a holiday cocktail to you? What's your idea of, like, a holiday cocktail? What are you sipping on?
So I think that the most important thing is to know your crowd. If you are going to have a lot of people, who all may have different tastes, I think, like some kind of batch cocktail or a punch that's not, like, overly sweet, maybe some citrus and spice, kind of refreshing and palatable and can go with food, not super heavy. I think that is probably the way to go if you're just entertaining for a couple of people and you're okay with keeping a few bottles on hand. You could mix up a couple of things that are spirit forward. You could do an old fashioned, or you could do a Manhattan, or you can do our friend's favorite, the Captain Morgan and eggnog.
She's going to listen to this and she's going to get so upset.
I
But
know. It's really bourbon and eggnog. I really had to throw that out there. But I don't know that that's necessarily better. Not like I'm okay with boozy eggnog. I think, again, that like lends to something a little bit heavier. It's not necessarily for everybody's taste, but it does feel like very holiday. Maybe a little more Christmas than Thanksgiving, but...
Okay, so what's your favorite holiday cocktail? Like, if you were going to drink something, what's your go-to?
I like something, like, warm and spicy with a little bit of citrus.
Okay, so, like, hot toddy-esque.
Yeah.
How are you approaching it?
So, the best thing to do is to kind of start with your spirit. Actually, it's really nice, shameless plug, working for the Block, because we have seasonal gins, and our autumn gin and even our winter gin, which is a barrel rested gin, they are both like very spice forward, and they are really fun to play with in place of whiskey. But if you were going to do something hot like a toddy, I think it's really, obviously, if you're a whiskey drinker, go for a whiskey. You also don't have to spend a shit ton of money on these spirits. Shop locally, like support your local distilleries.
Hello, shameless plug, the Block.
If you're in Denver, come to the Block. But also, like, I mean, I know in Colorado alone, we have a lot of locally owned liquor stores and things like that have great deals that all the people that work there are shopping locally and are stocking their favorite things. So talk to them about it. It's really fun. If you don't know where to start at your local liquor store or distillery, because those people are happy to tell you how to use their spirits that they make, or if they're happy to tell you how to use the spirits that they have stocked, because they probably picked them themselves, right, if they are a local liquor store.
For sure.
And I know if you've come into the Block and bought in a bottle, I've probably given you a recipe to make at home. That's just like kind of my shtick. If we talked about and I sold you a bottle, I probably was like, here's how you can use it. Here's how we use it. Because it just creates a nice relationship and a nice interaction. And like people really feel like they gained something besides just buying a bottle from you.
Right.
Yeah, they got a little piece of education and a little piece of who you are.
Well, I hope, right, like if you're working in a local spot, right, whether it's like a distillery or, you know, like a like the small batch liquor store up here in Tennyson, if you're part of the team, you know, with someone that's local, I'm gonna assume that you're in that world because you're passionate about what you do, right? Like, yeah. Because it means something to you aside from telling people to put Captain Morgan in their eggnog.
Yeah, okay? Yeah. So, yeah, typically the people that are also, she's right, like the people that are working at those places are working there because they are very passionate about like what is going into the spirit being made. Like I know literally when you come into the Block, everything that goes into your glass gets made in our building. From like, we really have a team of very culinary driven service industry people and culinary driven bartenders like myself and, like our manager, Jess, she has a culinary degree. I have a pastry certification. Our other bartender, Dan, has worked in kitchens. Like all these people are we are very apt to making things and being creative. So we make all of our mixers and things like that. But then we also, just as much effort goes into our spirits. The owners and distillers are putting a lot of effort into making those things. So we're all very passionate about teaching people how to use them and what makes them unique and how to highlight their unique things. Like we have a whiskey that has oat in it, and that's not a common grain you find. We make a Marigold Sour. It goes to a good cause and supports the Marigold Project, but also like highlights the marigold, and that highlights the dried floral notes that the oat brings out from the rye and the barley. And it's just really nice. And we talk about kind of highlighting that. So the best place to start if you're trying to make good holiday cocktails and seasonal cocktails is to start locally. Go to your local spirit shops, go to your local distilleries, and then find out what ingredients are around you locally.
Well, and I think that there is something to be said about that, right? I mean, it's not even necessary. We are talking about holiday cocktails, but also just what's in season around you, what's in season in your area. I think that that's all. Our point is, okay, there's a point to this specific thing, and that is that we're going to get to what y'all can make and how we can make this approachable, but start small, shop small all the times, but especially during the holidays, no? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, one of my issues in the past, right, is generally accessibility. Okay, like not accessibility, approachability. Sorry. Do I have to buy a ton of shit? No. Right? And also kind of what you touched on earlier, like if I have 2 or 3 people over for dinner, I'm not going to mind shaking cocktails on occasion, right? We're going to make a hard segue really quick. Because a couple weeks ago...
How you don't have a shaker.
Okay, so I don't own a... It's not... What do you call it? Do you call it a shaker? What do you call it at work?
A shaker.
Okay. Your boss doesn't call it that. Your boss just calls it a tin.
Well, she's from Chicago.
So she calls this thing a tin. That's
not a slight on anybody from Chicago. It's specifically a slight on her.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like be a little bit sneaky, and I'm like, hey, do you have a shaker? I'm trying, she's gonna make dinner. I want to do something nice in return because I really did not contribute anything to that dinner whatsoever. And I was like, do you have a shaker? She was like, no, I don't have one. And I was thinking to myself, like, how the fuck do you not have a shaker? Like, what?
Because she doesn't do anything at home.
Okay, well, she doesn't. She eats Taco Bell. But I was like, how do you...
I mean not like she doesn't do anything. I didn't mean it like she's a lazy fuck. But like, I meant like she's never home to do things.
So I'm like, but I'm also like, I mean, cool. Like, I guess I can get a mason jar, or I guess I can...
So yeah, like to that extent, like you really don't need to...
Well, I'm going somewhere with this.
Jesus,
so here
here
I was... So she brings over like a blender bottle. She brings a blender bottle, but she also brings me a shaker. Because what she thought that I meant was that I was making dessert. And she checks out, I suppose. But she brought me like a powdered sugar, or like a shaker, like a pastry.
Which I don't understand.
I mean, I don't either. Bless her cotton socks. I mean, whatever. My point is like, number one, we're going to make do with things that we have. Okay. So like, I don't mind shaking cocktails for a couple of people, but if I'm having like a big ass dinner, if I'm hosting a feast, if I have like 10, 15 people coming over for Christmas, what am I making that's approachable? I keep saying accessible, don't I? Tell me to shut up when I do that.
Which is the same. So I like kind of went off on a tangent there about going and like sourcing these things. So if you're like if you are looking for spirits, for sure shop locally. But then when it goes to your ingredients that you're going to be putting into your cocktail too, it's like a lot of times. And also when you're shopping for your spirit, just think about the flavors that you want. And if you're thinking about like holiday and things like that, like spiced and citrus and warm and cranberry and apple, and all of these things will start like rolling off the top of your head. And then you can go, okay, what do I have in my refrigerator? And what is like, because typically my general rule of thumb, honestly, is like if it goes together in the kitchen, it will likely go together in your glass. You just might have to do like a little bit of a finagle to get it there. But like, so it's like, how do you incorporate those things together? But like she said, if you don't mind shaking a couple of cocktails, like a spiced holiday margarita, or like...
Ooh, what would you do though? Like, how would you approach it?
Like some cranberry or pomegranate.
Oh, pomegranate would be good.
Yeah, so if you think about the components of a margarita, let's break it down.
Let's break it down.
Spirit, sour, sweet. So then you have like... How can we introduce those things? Typically, the sour is introduced by lemon, lime, orange, and the sweetness is cane sugar or agave if you're doing like a coin style margarita. And then you have the spirit, typically tequila. If you want something a little bit smoky, which might be nice for the holiday, you can do a nice mezcal. And then, so it's like, so think about what kind of spirit. So if you're going to do something smoky, something that is like earthy and a little bit bitter might go good with that. So if you wanted to switch it to like grapefruit or maybe even pomegranate, that's like nice and tart and has a nice like stone fruity like essence to it, which goes really nice with some smoke.
And like, is that something that you would that you recommend batching?
Yeah, you could do that. That's like a great, so stuff that has like sour and sweet, like high levels of that stuff is like sometimes, especially like sweet, those things do well. Those things almost taste better being batched. Because they like sit together and they like blend together. So like if you're prepping for your party and you want to batch the cocktail together, maybe do it without ice. But but or if you like, you know, you do account for some, maybe that's too, I don't need to talk about that. I don't want to get, I was like going to talk about dilution. We don't need to go there. Just like batch it without the ice, pour it over ice, and stir it a couple of times. Like if we're talking about okay, I'm just going to give you guys a recipe for a holiday margarita. Okay.
Get your pen and paper
out. So yeah, I mean, think of like lime, pomegranate, or cranberry, whatever you can find. Again, don't go crazy and don't drive yourself crazy. I literally was just at our local store. These things are in season right now, so they're going to be like not only at their peak freshness, but at their peak price point. So I was like literally just at the store. Pomegranates typically are super expensive. They're in season right now. They're 3 for $5. Oh, damn. So you know what I mean? Like they were actually really cheap. And, but also maybe that's just like a nice garnish. You wouldn't also like really necessarily use the seed to make a cocktail.
Right. Well, let's just pause for a moment. We're not implying that you should go buy a shitload. That's not very approachable.
Yeah. So just, you know, if you get some pomegranate juice and some fresh lime juice or some fresh limes and squeeze them yourself, just keeping everything fresh and simple is totally fine. Like if you can keep it simple, just also keep it fresh. Fresh lime juice, cranberry, some tequila or some mezcal.
And what we can do too is like put a proper, I'll have you send me a proper recipe.
Like rattling off
and if you guys can look in the show notes and I'll have an actual.
There'll be a holiday margarita recipe there for you.
That's not just rattling. They're like with their pen and paper like, but how much?
But how much of this? And I'm like, what? And she's like, seeds or no seeds? What the
so are we doing seeds or we're not going to do any seeds?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay, so we will get a proper holiday margarita down there for you. But, yeah, I mean, elderflower is nice too.
And see, sometimes you really can't let us. We have this issue where if we both start talking about things that we are passionate and love, there's a lot of rabbit holing. Okay, so if you're listening to this,
I'm like, sweet, hell yeah. Okay, so you guys are probably gonna get a cranberry elderflower like margarita. I think that sounds delicious.
I think that sounds delicious
right? That
too.
Sounds fucking dope.
Yeah, it does.
All right. So yeah, approachability, just use what you have. Don't go crazy. I had a friend the other day that really wanted to make a last word and didn't want to buy a $60 bottle of chartreuse, which is absurd because that's like also not a crazy approachable liqueur to have on your shelf as a home bartender. Unless you're just going to constantly drink last words, which.
Well, so talking about home bars, right? Because they're like our good friend Hannah. They have they have a home bar with their partner that, you know, I'm like, that is stocked, you know what I'm saying? But like, that's also something that she finds joy in.
Yeah.
I do not have a home bar because my best friend is a bartender, you guys. So I'm like, I am not making a lot of cocktails at home, if I'm being really honest. But in terms of the holidays, when you're thinking about holiday forward beverages, cocktail situations, if you had to have like a handful of things in your home bar, what would they be?
Probably whiskey.
Okay.
Some kind of like vodka, just because it's mixable, and probably, you know, mules and things like that are the most approachable for people.
Right.
Something like nice. I need something like nice and spiced. So like a rum maybe, or, you know, something like that. Rums are also like a pretty approachable price point too. Like a spiced rum toddy that you could batch, do hot is totally fine.
Tom and Jerry, which is your boss is a big fan. So if I'm being honest with y'all, I actually did not know what a do you know what a Tom and Jerry is? I didn't know what it was. It's custard. It's literally like some sort of custard situation that you buy at a gas station.
Yeah.
Like she literally said that you buy it at a gas station. Some of you guys like, okay, she's going to look it up on her phone. Jessica was telling me about this morning, and it's like custard that like you eat, that you like whack in a cup with Captain Morgan, which is just for somebody that is a beverage director of a local distillery, drinking Captain Morgan just blows my mind a little bit. Also, if you knew this person, it's not that shocking. And then hot water, and you like shake it up. You do a shaken type, and it gets frothy. This doesn't sound delicious. Just for the record.
Okay, this sounds, what I'm looking at sounds a lot better
than whatever she described.
Whatever gas station situation you're describing. So just in case anybody's wondering, the gas station custard is not a part of the traditional recipe. It is milk, egg yolk. It's basically eggnog, some kind of egg situation. You know, this is with a whole egg.
What's going to differentiate
brandy
it?
And rum.
Oh, okay. So
it's a variant of eggnog with brandy and rum. That's like literally it. So it's like, and it's served hot. So it's like
eggnog is cold and this is hot.
This is hot.
Okay. So, anywho, going back to the bar situation.
It sounds like a custard, yes.
Right. But she's buying, she'll have to, she's whatever. So wait, back to our bar cart.
About eggnog and Captain Morgan. This is the same fucking thing. She was like, don't tell people I drink eggnog and Captain Morgan.
She drinks eggnog and bourbon, for the record, just to set everybody straight. Okay, so things on our holiday bar cart. We're going whiskey. We're going clear spirit like vodka because it's approachable. And we're going...
Yeah.
Rum.
Like a rum, yeah. Brandy is a nice holiday spirit too. Also pretty approachable in price most of the time. Like we have some nice, like again, local brandies that come at a really good price point. Don't spend a ton of crazy money on specialty spirits, especially if you're going to be mixing something.
Right.
Like you don't need to go buy a bottle of Don Julio 1942 to put in your fucking margarita.
Right.
Like literally just, buy a real tequila from Jalisco. We're not going to do this stupid shit and buy like Casamigos, and we are not going to promote that stuff here. But like if you're going to, you don't have to spend a shit ton of money, support the right people. And just know what your budget is. There's and that's where it goes into having the conversation with the people at your local liquor stores and things like that. Tell them what you're looking to do. But
I think that there's something to be said about that though, right? Because I think when you're hosting especially if you're hosting and you're entertaining, like you want to, most people want to provide like an elevated experience, right? They want it to be, but I know that I have made I've done like a nonsense sangria type situation, right? Like I did this sangria with like apple cider. It was like a fall sangria. But I was like buying top shelf shit for this. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, it's literally like there's hella sugar in there. There's are you tasting the spirit? Sure, right. But you're not sipping like a $400 bottle of Japanese whiskey.
I'm not saying like disrespect the fuck out of your guests and throw a $5 bottle of Pop-Obs in there, but but I'm also not saying like go and spend the most amount of money. Like I think so here's the thing. I don't think that social class and financial status or anything like that and good experience is mutually exclusive. I don't think that you need to spend a shit ton of money on specialty products to provide a good experience for somebody. I think that I think that half of the experience goes into the thought that you even thought about making a cocktail.
So like I tried to make this girl a cocktail and I might have made it in a blender bottle,
but it's totally fine.
And I did it. You know what I'm saying?
We're also going to put a list of approachable materials you can use at home, like
mason jars,
Tupperwares. I don't give a shit if you can seal it and it has a lid. Shake your fucking cocktail
shake it in it. You're not going to shake what Jessica brought to my house, which was a powdered sugar shaker, because you'd have shit everywhere.
But if you can seal it,
you can shake it. Anywho. I think that's like important to note though, right? Like I said, people want to go like all, with that sangria.
But then it's like, it's so, and also to that extent, you may be saying, but I want to do that. And that's totally
Hey,
fine.
if you want to do that,
I just want you to do what you want to do and not what you feel like you're
expected to do. Well, and what was that? Okay, so that going back to that cocktail specifically, because honestly, it was I made a cocktail. And naturally, I consulted with my cocktail expert right here. Mm-hmm. And so it was a whiskey riff on a bee's knees, right? That's what I ended up making with...
This past time?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No way. With a pear?
Yeah.
That's not a bee's knees, dog.
But... That's what you told me!
That's like what I said at first, and then I changed it because you were going to have to buy...
See, this is what I said, y'all. This is like not scripted. I'm sure that's really hard for you to tell. But I wonder if your boss looked at me like I was a fucking idiot because she was like,
oh, she thinks it's so cute.
How cute it's a bee's knees. It's really not.
Serving over ice.
I shook it. I didn't.
And shook.
Okay. Well, so we're not talking. So anyways, what I did, it was bourbon.
Pear.
I made a pear simple
sage.
type situation with sage and clove and cardamom and cinnamon. It was divine. Okay, so what would you call that though? A pear bourbon cocktail? Is there a name for that? But also I think that that's really beneficial
like a
to know.
Smash, I guess, would be like the closest because of the puree. It has like a chunky-ish, like
it had some viscosity,
a texture to it. Yeah, I guess like a smash would be like the closest thing.
I think that number one, I feel like for me, that's something that is super approachable. It feels a little bit elevated and it has like a little bit more time and effort into it, all because I cooked down some pears with some brown sugar and spices.
If you're hosting, chances are you're also going to have like, so here's the thing, you don't have to stock a home bar. If you just have like a bunch of people and you want to make like a mulled cider or sangria.
That's a good idea.
Dump a bunch of wine in your crock pot with some fresh citrus, some whole toasted spices. Like this is all super cheap, like cinnamon sticks. Cardamom pods are probably the most expensive thing you're going to use, honestly. Cardamom pods, star anise, cinnamon, some pepperberry. All of that stuff is super approachable, super inexpensive stuff that you might even already have
or that you might use again.
Or that you will use again. And also like the pepperberry, like if you have whole cracked, like if you're cracking like whole pepper in a grinder, throw it in the thing and toast it. There's like, just look at what's around you and what you're already making. And like, I literally half the time I'm like, how the hell could I make this into a cocktail? And I'm like, okay, well I could do like a mulled, I'm making pumpkin pie. I can make a mulled cider. Throw a little fucking pumpkin puree in there if you want to.
I love that. And that's what I loved about that cocktail specifically is that there was like a little bit of like viscosity to it, like, right? There was like some texture to it.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I feel like we were like, oh, we're going to talk holiday cocktails and what you can do. And I feel like I'm not giving you any one specific thing that you can and can't do. But
our point is...
But that I feel like is kind of the point, and that's kind of how I make cocktails, why I kind of hate being called a mixologist, because I am not as... I sometimes wish that I was, but I am not as regimented and like structured as the people who really do consider themselves mixologists. So half the time I really don't think I deserve that title because that's not how I mix cocktails.
I know,
you know what I mean? It's like it's so culinary driven and so driven by just like, what can I throw together real quick that I already have in front of me? I know these flavors go well together in the kitchen. They are classic flavor pairings together. But
if you're doing yourself a tiny bit of a solid, I mean, can you give yourself a small pat on the back? And perhaps that actually makes you quite good at what you do.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that I'm bad at what I do.
But I think that there's something to be said about, like...
Yeah, my process is a little chaotic, but I think my process is also, like, for the everyday people.
Right.
Like, who
that's my point.
Everyday people aren't so regimented. And
they're not buying $60 bottles of chartreuse.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. And I'm just like, I've got this fucking, honestly, bottle of white wine I got from a deal at Olive Garden one time, and I'm gonna fucking put it in this crock pot and
so what's funny? What's funny?
Mulled white wine or something.
What's funny is that
it's
actually
totally fine. You don't have to fucking do anything different.
You don't.
Like, and okay, so honestly, like, listen, for my Olive Garden white wine people, here's what you can do. Grab some fucking apple cider, throw it in that shit. Some
like a white sangria.
Citrus. Yeah. Mulled, sangria, hot.
Situation.
Yeah, white is fine too. Just use what you got. Don't let anything go to waste. Big advocate of that.
Do you know that this is how we fell in love? Do you remember, like, when we started talking? So, if you know anything about me.
Or me.
Or her. We're Instagram lovers. And I'm talking, like, the most absolute platonic kind of love in the whole wide world. But that's how we met, was on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And we started talking, like, we really connected on, you were making a post. You had made a post about the mulled wine that you were doing in your crock pot. And I was like, I'm on my way. And she was like,
crock
cool.
pots of wine.
Yeah. She was like, cool, because I got crock pots of wine. You got hand pies. Like, we are a match made in heaven. If I'm being really honest with you, the rest is history.
So this is real full circle.
Yeah, this is a real full circle. I was like, wait, I wonder if she remembers. Because I was like, wait, this girl's picture is so cool. And I was like, hey, I like crock pots of wine. And I really did. I think I said something to the effect of, like, I'm on my way. Yeah, but I think that, like, that's what I've learned the most from you. Specifically, if you're going into, I mean, we really are, like, plugging the fuck out of the block. But I mean, this is, I'm like, this is like inadvertent. You spend so much of your time there. This is not fully intentional, just so you guys know.
It's like, so here's the thing. It's like the block has just given me such a platform to express myself and all of the crazy shit that I'm a graphic designer. I went to pastry school to be a better fucking bartender. Like, right. You know what I mean? All the crazy shit.
If you look at those cocktails, though, I mean, if you look at those cocktails, it is very apparent that they are absolutely created by and emulate sort of like the culinary industry as a whole, right? I mean, we have like riffs on like pineapple upside down cake and I don't know, share just to give people some ideas of like things that they could potentially do at home in like a creative way. Just tell the people about a couple of your favorites that are on the menu right now.
Yeah. So like I have a sweet potato pie cocktail. It's called Harvest Moon and it's literally sweet potato puree that has a little bit of black walnut bitters in it.
That you make?
No. That's bought.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, but you do black walnut bitter stuff for Nectar.
Yeah. But yeah, just because for production purposes, we do buy that at the block. But you can, black walnut is a very common flavor. Fee Brothers makes a great one, and so does Strong Water. They're a local Colorado company.
Anyways, back to the sweet potato Harvest Moon.
So it's like literally sweet potato puree, a whole egg, and gin. That's like something very approachable that you could make at home. Honestly, you have to shake the shit out of it. But,
well, I was gonna say, some people are real hesitant
and maybe
about
if
the
you're
whole
not,
egg.
the egg thing is fine. You don't have to do that. But
what can you say to like smooth people's edges though in approaching cocktails that do have eggs?
So here's the thing. I don't want to tell you that like it's crazy 100% safe and nothing is going to happen to you, but the likeliness of something happening to you is like very low.
Well, especially if you eat like lettuce.
You get E. coli from lettuce and like shit, all the listeria from lettuce and shit. So it's like, so here's the thing. People don't think about eggshells being porous, but they very much so are. So you need to wash them. A lot of the bacteria and salmonella that people are afraid of does not exist within the egg.
It's on the eggshell.
It exists on the eggshell, and it is contracted through you eating the egg because it slides through the shell when you crack it open, or it's been sitting in the shell, and that's how you're contracting it because that's where, you know what I mean? That's what you're eating. You're not eating the egg shell. But the bacteria really starts on the shell. First of all, again, going back to supporting local, one reason why if you are making cocktails this way, it's really cool to support your local farmer because you know that the eggs are fresh.
Right.
And they didn't, you have no idea what happened to the egg in King Soopers before you got it. So, so
full circle moments.
Yeah. So, these buy fresh eggs, just wash them, honestly, you're going to be fine. And using, fresh eggs.
What do you think about
the amount of alcohol in the cocktail too? It's like kind of like the idea behind ceviche, like the acidic nature of the citrus that you're putting in there is cooking and killing any bacteria on the fish that you would like possibly contract. The same thing with the alcohol in the cocktail. Like the chances are you're putting enough in there that, and again, eggs typically have things that are sour, so you have enough acid and alcohol in there to really combat anything that's going to happen to you.
What else is one of your what's another one of your favorites that's on?
So actually Liz made a cocktail that I really, honestly, when people ask me what my favorite cocktail on the menu is, I mostly say this because it is just very damn good. It is a very well balanced, like spirit forward, like gin Manhattan that I think honestly is like perfect for the holiday season. It's an apple infused gin and like a raisin liqueur that's meant to mimic like a sweet vermouth that she makes, and like a cherry liqueur. So, or a spiced cherry simple that we also use in the upside down cocktail. So I will preface by saying that like as a distillery, legally, we're not allowed to like serve or distribute or sell any spirits that we don't make in house. So it lends us, like, that's a big block for maybe other teams. It's not for ours because of the way that it's built, with this culinary background. Like, we all are so creative. We have the ability to think around, like, okay, how do we make something taste like vermouth when we are not making great base spirits?
Right.
And like all of these things. So, that's honestly like my favorite part about working there. But, and really why I think what has taught me the most that on any level, cocktails can be made that way. Like cocktails can be made like you're cooking and like you're just like kind of throwing flavors together that are approachable, that you know that you're going to use again, that you're already using. You don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't have to do all of these crazy things. It's nice to do those things if you have the privilege and the ability to go out and buy expensive
But that's not the point, right?
But that's not the point.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be the point of the experience.
So what you're saying is that all you want to do this afternoon is get a bottle of Captain Morgan.
Put it in some eggnog.
Yeah.
We'll grate some fresh nutmeg on top
Okay,
of
so
it.
she did make a point to say, like, if there's not freshly grated nutmeg on it, I'm not fucking drinking it.
Yeah.
So, but because of course she did.
I know.
But
she's been putting nutmeg on everything.
On
I
everything.
can't handle
She's
her.
insane.
Dude,
with the
know.
microplane.
God, I can't. Fucking fling me off.
I was like, I mean, because like some folks are like making their eggnog, right? Making eggnog does not sound approachable to me. That sounds like too much.
Yeah, so it's like everybody's always like, oh, these cocktails aren't approachable. I have to do all these things. I'm like,
don't make your eggnog.
Yeah.
Go buy that shit.
Go buy your eggnog. But also, if you're making motherfucking eggnog, you can make a cocktail.
If you're making eggnog from scratch.
Or if you guys are like stringing cranberries and popcorn or doing all these other like weird.
Oh,
like,
God.
I'm not trying here to yuck anything.
Yes, she is.
Whatever.
She's dragging me for loving
I'm
Christmas.
fucking sitting in a Christmas blanket right now. It's fucking November 18th or some shit. I don't know what day it is. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. Fucking Christmas threw up in Ava Truckey's house.
It did. I have children. What can I say? Anyways.
I mean, that's like literally the only pass that you're getting.
Okay. Oh, it's because I have the babies?
For my children.
Yeah. This is just for my kids.
Fine. If Mooney asked for it, Mooney
can have it. I know. Bless her. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah, dude. I hope that this wasn't as chaotic as it seemed.
It absolutely was. But also, I think that for
I feel like most of this podcast, you're like, I didn't ask you that, but that's fine.
And we're going over here now. I think that they're mostly used to me at this point. And like I said, there's like a lot of times where I'm laughing at my own jokes by myself sitting here. Don't worry, she also listens to my podcast and knows. But I hope that you guys find this beneficial and that you had some good laughs and that at the end of the day,
make what you want to make.
Make what you want to make.
Don't feel pressured to spend a shit ton of money.
Don't do it.
Provide crazy experiences because at the end of the day, the people that love you are going to be
They want to hang out with you. They want to watch you shake cocktails in your blender bottle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a story. They're going to love it forever. Like, literally, I don't know how many more times the Splendor bottle situation is going to come up between us, but now it's a memory that we have.
It's a memory. It's a memory that we have forever. It's ingrained.
Make memories. Don't stress yourself
Make
out.
cocktails. Make mocktails.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you will.
yeah. Okay, so, like,
well, we'll just put it. We'll put it on the show notes.
Apple cider.
Apple cider. We're gonna do the cranberry, or we're doing a pomegranate margarita. We'll get that in the show notes, and then
some accessible home tools that you can exchange.
And then we'll also include a mocktail for those of y'all that want to participate without fully participating.
Yay!
Yeah. Again, shameless plug for I feel like I should get paid by your boss for plugging the block for 40 minutes. But if you are in Denver for real, go check out my best friend behind the bar at the Block Distilling Co. And if you're not in Denver, shop local, shop small, hang out in your local distilleries, and hang out in the liquor stores that are small owned, locally owned, because that's the joint. That's the people that care about what they do, and I think that they're going to be able to provide you with the best recommendations. They also know the things that are seasonal within your area and your means.
Yeah,
so.
If you're not in Denver, but you're in Colorado, Molly's, Argonaut,
yep.
Mr. B's, all those places have a really, and also shout out to Country Club Liquors on Cedar in Denver. Because that guy keeps the fever tree stocked. If y'all are like, where are you getting the fever tree? She has the plug. All right, y'all. I hope you all have a good holiday, and I will catch up with you guys next week.